Hello, everyone. Today we will be going over the basics of rhythm. So we will be learning the eight most common note and rest values. So those would be the whole, half, quarter, and eighth notes and rests. So before we get into the symbols themselves, we should review what a time signature is and what it shows us. So we have a 4/4 time signature on the left. The number on top shows us how many beats are in a measure. So in this case, there are 4 beats in a measure. And the number on bottom shows us what note gets the beat. In this case, that means the quarter note. So there will be 4 quarter notes in a measure, or 4 beats in a measure. So to start off with, we have the whole note, which is 4 beats. The whole note gets an entire measure in the 4/4 time signature and can be counted out this way. Ta. Notice how it has 4 sounds. Ta. So here we see it on a rhythm staff, counted out like I just did. Ta. It can also be counted out using numbers like this. 1. So the half note is half of a whole note, which means that it gets 2 beats or half of the measure in 4/4, and 2 can fit in a measure. It can be counted out like this. Ta. Again, ta. Here it is on the rhythm staff, counted out just like I did. Ta, ta. Again, ta, ta. Can be counted out like this in numbers. 1, 3, 1, 3. Because it falls on the first beat and the third beat. That's when the notes start. So 1, 3. We have the quarter note now, which gets 1 beat. It is a quarter of the measure in 4/4, and 4 can fit in a measure. It is counted out like this. Ta. Again, ta. Here it is on the rhythm staff. We have ta, 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 ta. Or in numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have the eighth note, which is half of a quarter note, and it gets half of a beat. So it can either be on its own, having half of a beat, or it can be paired with another one, and those pairs get 1 beat each. So by itself is half of a beat. Paired is 1 full beat because there are 2 half beats. So if it's by itself, it will look like it is on the left, which has a flag. And if it is paired with another one, it will be connected with a bar on top. So here it is on the rhythm staff. It can be counted out like this. Toddy, 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 toddy. You notice how with each of my claps on the beat, toddy, 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 2 sounds fit in. So half and half. Toddy, 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 toddy. And in numbers, it would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice how the number comes on the first half of the beat and the and comes on the second half of the beat. Here it is again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, did we notice how with each new note, it was half of the previous note? So the whole note was 4, and then the half note was 2, then the quarter note was 1, and the eighth note was 1/2. So in a measure, there would be 1 whole note, or 2 half notes, 4 quarter notes, or 8 eighth notes. Splitting it down into these smaller values is called subdividing. Okay, now we have the rest versions of each of those notes. So the whole rest is going to get 4 beats of rest, or the whole measure in a 4/4 time signature. It's a little silly to count out on its own just because it'll be an entire measure of rest, so we won't really hear anything, but it'll sound like this. My clapping is going to be the beat. Could also be counted out like this. Okay, moving on, we have the half rest, which gets 2 beats of rest, and there can be 2 in a measure. So here we have a half note and a half rest together. The half note is on beat 1 and 2. The half rest is on beat 3 and 4. So it would sound like this. Ta, ta, or 1, 1. Okay. The whole rest and the half rest do look a lot alike. So the way that I can tell a difference between them is the way that the square is pointing. So if the square is pointing down, it looks like a hole, which means that it's a whole rest. If the square is pointing up, it looks like a hat, which means it's a half rest. Hole in the ground means whole rest. Hat, half rest. So here's another example where the half rest is first, and then it is followed by the half note. The half rest is on 1 and 2. The half note is on 3 and 4. So it'll sound like this. Ta, ta, or 3, 3. All right, the quarter rest gets 1 beat of rest, and there can be 4 in a measure. On the rhythm staff, it'll sound like this. Ta, 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 ta. Or with the numbers, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Now we have the eighth rest, which is half a beat of rest, just like its half or eighth note counterpart. So on the rhythm staff, eighth rest and eighth notes look like this together. So in this case, our eighth rest is on the second half of the beat. So it would sound like this. Ta, 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 ta. Notice how the eighth note sounds very short because there is an eighth rest after it. So with numbers, it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The eighth rest is on the and of the beat, the second half. Now we have it flipped around the other way, where the eighth rest is on the first half of the beat, or the number of the beat. And the eighth note is on the second half of the beat, or the D, or the and. So it would sound like this. D, 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 D. Little bit silly, but on the number counting, it would sound like this. And, 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 and. And here is that same rhythm tree, but with our rests. You can see we have the whole rest on top with 2 half rests split into 4 quarter rests, split into 8 eighth rests. So now we're going to have a little bit of practice time. The way that this is going to work is I will have some examples up on the slide. When you get to a new example, you'll pause your video. You'll work through it on the count syllables and the number counting like we've been doing. And then you will unpause your video and count with me to check your work. So again, Pause the video at the beginning of each exercise. Do the work on the count syllables and number counting, and then unpause the video to count with me. So we have our first example here up top. Go ahead and pause your video so that you can work on it on your own. Okay, so starting with the count syllables, the ta and the toddy, it will sound like this. Get our steady beat going. 1, 2, here we go. Ta, 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 ta. And on number counting, it would sound like this. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. All right, moving on to the next exercise on the bottom. Okay, let's get our beat going. First on ta and toddy. Here we go. Ta, 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 ta. And on numbers, 1, 2, here we go. 1, 4, 1, 4. Okay, third example up top. Okay, on our count syllables, beat. Here we go. Toddy, ta, ta, toddy, ta, ta. And on numbers, here we go. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. All right, fourth example. Okay, on count syllables, here we go. Ta, ta, toddy, ta, ta, toddy. And on numbers, 1, 2, here we go. 1, 3, 4, and 1, 3, 4, and. Okay, here is our last example. This one's a little bit tricky, so take your time trying to figure it out. Okay, on our count syllables, here we go. Ta, dee, ta, toddy, ta, dee, ta, toddy. And then on numbers, 1, 2, here we go. 1 and 3, 4, and 1 and 3, 4, and. All right. Thank you so much for learning how to count with me. Happy counting.